Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. Repeat the sounding joy. No more lessons and so.
Good morning and welcome to day 4 of our devotionals for Christmas 2021. Today we are in Matthew chapter 1 and we're finally moving on from the family tree, and we're going to read verses 18 to 23. This is how the birth of Jesus the Messiah came about. His mother Mary was pledged to be married to Joseph, but before they came together she was found to be pregnant through the Holy Spirit. Because Joseph, her husband, was faithful to the law and yet did not want to expose her to public disgrace, he had in mind to divorce her quietly. But after he had considered this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, "Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins." All this took place to fulfill what the Lord had said through the prophet. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. I remember speaking to a man some years ago about the gospel, and he said the big sticking point for him, the thing that he just couldn't get past, was the virgin birth. It was just an impossibility in his mind, and he said that was one of the reasons that he just could not accept Jesus. He just could not accept Christianity. Well, we don't have time this morning to have a full in-depth discussion on the virgin birth, but suffice to say, it was no more believable for Matthew and his contemporaries than it was for us today. You don't need a standard grade in biology to know how babies are made, to know where babies come from. And you see that when Mary was found to be pregnant, Joseph didn't believe her story, because it is impossible. It was something that was regarded as so utterly implausible, so utterly impossible, so utterly scandalous that it just could not be. And this angel appears to Joseph in a dream and says to him, "Don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. What is conceived in her is of the Holy Spirit." In other words, she's telling you the truth. She hasn't cheated on you. She hasn't been unfaithful. This is an act of God. This is a miracle. The impossible has just happened. Now, if we allow that there is a God, and if we allow for the fact that God is acting in this situation, then the stumbling block of a miracle doesn't become such a stumbling block. Because if God be God, it is no problem for him to create life in the womb of Mary. He does it all the time. He is the giver of life. He takes life away. I was reading just earlier today, someone saying that removing God from the equation doesn't resolve all our difficulties. We're left with this amazing world that we live in, this universe that had a beginning, and we're left with the question of, well, where did it come from? And the person said, at the end of the day, we either have the virgin birth of Jesus or the virgin birth of the universe, which is more plausible. And so we have here this account of Matthew, not because he thinks it's plausible, but rather because it's true. This is what happened. This is what Mary told him. And so he writes this because it happened. And you see, both the beginning of Jesus' life and the end of Jesus' life are bookmarked with miraculous events. The virgin birth to start, the resurrection to finish. But as we think of the virgin birth, just briefly this morning, it's Joseph we're going to think about today. Joseph's world is turned upside down, isn't it? In fact, in this whole narrative, Joseph doesn't even get to speak. Things are just happening to him. Things are just coming his way, and he's having to field it left, right, and centre. The woman he thought he was going to marry, he thought he had cheated on her. An angel appears to him in a dream, tells him that she's telling the truth, and he's to marry her. And he does what the angel said. He's a righteous man. He's a good man. And he obeys the angel. He marries Mary. And when Jesus is born, he names him Jesus, just as the angel had told him. But can you imagine the pain that Joseph's been feeling through this process? The pain, the initial sense of betrayal, the confusion, the shame, the embarrassment. He thought he knew Mary, and the way people were talking, the way people were looking at him, everyone knew his business. In this pain, though, Joseph would have an encounter with the divine. In this pain, Joseph ultimately would meet Jesus. And in this pain, ultimately, Joseph would have a role to play in the salvation, in one sense, in supporting Jesus in his work in this world. There's an old saying that said, the man God uses, he first bruises. And in some ways, that's true of Joseph. When Jesus came into his life, he turned it upside down. It was not a comfortable experience, and sometimes that's true for us as well. When Jesus comes into our lives, he turns everything upside down, and sometimes that's not a comfortable experience. And there are sometimes he leads us through painful, bruising experiences, even as Christians. But even amidst the pain, we can trust and believe that God is working for good. Joseph couldn't see the end. Joseph had to go step by step, trusting and believing and obeying. And we can do the same. Even though he didn't have all the answers, even though it hurt, maybe God was using him. And as we go through difficult experiences, God still uses us. And who knows, maybe God is preparing us for greater service in the future. The one God uses, he first bruises. But we can trust him that in all our sufferings, that in all our struggles, he is working for good. God bless. Same time, same place tomorrow.